What's your name and what's your brand?
My name's Scott. My brand is Reshift.
Take us back to what you were doing before Reshift. What was your job? What was your occupation? All that kind of stuff.
I've done a few things within the career range. So I was army there for a while, which was fun. And then before that, I was civil and plant operating and that sort of stuff.
What was the driver for you to kind of get into e-commerce? What made you want to start an e-commerce brand?
It was probably a bit of a hard one for us. So it was about 5 years ago, and we had a few friends who commit suicide through PTSD. And then from that there, we sort of noticed a lot around, I know, especially when I went through my own mental health journey, was that there's lots of treatment based out there. It was still happening real frequently. So we really wanted to start growing and designing a bit more of a bush retreat. I found that getting into that bush and that quiet really helped me in that sort of space. So when our friends did commit suicide through that phase there, they were first responders, and we knew that there was a huge big gap there to be able to create something there that was non-clinical, that they can actually just come and stay. Like there's no financial burden on them as well. So that was that space there. So for the last 5 years, we've been working lots of bits and pieces there. And then for us, we needed ongoing income stream that was more passive in nature that we could leverage on and really start using that to cover the costs for the retreat.
How did you come up with a product to fill that need, or you know what I mean?
We came in, had no idea for the product, like we weren't sure. Originally, I was looking at dog enrichment toys and those sort of things, so like a dog training aspect of it. And then through working with eCom Capital, we really broke down that niche around first responders and then how we can actually get their daily, day-to-day sort of shift, essentially, still being able to support them themselves. So that's where that product really started coming into.
So can you explain what is the product? Like what are you actually selling and how does it serve not just the purpose of the mission, but what does it actually solve for the customer in terms of first responders?
We designed an insulated lunch range, especially for shift work. So this was it.
Looks awesome.
Thanks, mate. Appreciate that. So what we found was within the first responders, they had a big need around their lunchbox failing. Like it'd stay warm, get warm, like around lunch and those sort of things, and break down really quick. And it would take take home all like the biohazard sort of aspect of all the contaminations from the job and that sort of stuff. So we needed something that was going to be something that they could clean easy, that was actually going to perform, and that they could actually trust in their shift, something they could rely on.
Yeah. And then what was the kind of tipping point that you decided to join eCom Capital? Like what was it that made you want to leap in and work with us?
I have no experience within that sort of tech space at all. Like before this, I was lucky to send an email, so I was super green with it all. And I guess it was just like my jobs and stuff. I didn't even needed it, So when sort of doing a lot of research, especially when around eCom Capital, that they started really well around a lot of reviews around starting people from scratch who have no idea. And that's kind of what I was really needing. I needed someone who was going to back me, have their mind in my business while I was learning off them. I was still doing all the work, but essentially that real key guidance, that mentorship, essentially, that was going to push me over the line to be able to create what we needed.
So just having like someone to take you from A to B to actually show you the steps of building an e-commerce business.
Yeah, 100%. Yeah, especially with guys who have got like skin in the game, essentially. Like I've got that experience behind them and that sort of stuff.
Yeah. Did you have any skepticism or anything around like joining? Was there any like concerns before you decided to sign up or anything like that?
Massive. Yeah, 100%. Yeah, I'm a natural skeptic person. Burnt by a lot of people. So instantly my flags got really fast. But what I found was just sort of getting to know the guys who are sort of coaching and helping us, and then knowing that they really do want that outcome. Like they're actually in your business. They're making sure that everything's done, which is really nice. Yeah, that was a big game changer.
How long have you been in the program for now?
We've been in the program for 5 months.
And then what's been your experience in that 5 months? Like what's some of the wins you've had? I know you've already had a couple sales of your product already, which is awesome. So what's been your experience in that 5 months?
It's been a hard 5 months, like some really good learnings around that. Like I sort of got exposed to some of the weaknesses I didn't realize I sort of had, which is kind of really nice. So it's sort of overcoming them, which is kind of quite nice, which is really cool. And then support, so we've built a little bit of a community now that are following us, so through social media and that sort of stuff. And they're super engaged and they're wanting to, and like they're reaching out to sort of start buying some things, and that sort of stuff, which is really cool.
What do you feel like's the most valuable thing that you've kind of gotten from eCom Capital in that 5 months?
For me, the guidance beforehand, like no idea how to use any of that sort of stuff. And then the system that I've got, which is, it is a step-by-step system. And then for me, because the way that I sort of learn, the guidance outside of that system is step-by-step, just that able to sort of keep you on track and then keep moving you through, which is quite nice.
So if you were talking to someone that's kind of on the fence about joining eCom Capital, what would be your advice to them if they were thinking about getting started?
My advice would be to sort of put down some of those barriers that you've done, like just still do your due diligence and all that sort of stuff. But I found just that guidance from expertise was a big game changer for me. I did take the risk, I had to jump in, but for me, it was well worth it to be able to step in, and especially with what we're creating now and the trajectory of where our brand's going to go. Yeah, it's looking quite nice.